All right, so I just got back from watching Captain America Brave New World, and I feel like talking about it. So let's get into it. Captain America Brave New World is a movie that has had a lot of hubbub surrounding it. There are reports that the entire movie was like rewritten and reshot, and that the budget ballooned to like $400 million or something like that. And, it's just one of those movies that has had a stink around it, right? The expectations have not been high, and after watching it, I think it is perfectly fine. It's like totally serviceable. Is it like one of the great MCU movies? Is it as good as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is the best MCU movie? Don't fight me. I am objectively correct about that. No. Is it as bad as the worst MCU movie, which is The Marvels? Don't fight me about that. I'm objectively correct. Definitely not. It definitely sits somewhere around the middle. It's like those movies in the MCU that I'm like, yeah, that's a movie, and I enjoyed watching it. Right? I would put it around there with like Doctor Strange, maybe the first Ant-Man movie, like movies that are totally fine. So let me get into what I liked about the movie. First of all, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson / Captain America. He's great. I think he's been great as Falcon. I thought he was great as Captain America / Falcon in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I think he continues to be great in this movie. I like his little sidekick character. He was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He's now he had a more prominent role in this movie, like specifically as Falcon. And I thought he was very enjoyable. Harrison Ford, he is Harrison Ford in this movie. I wasn't sure if he was crabby as per the script, or if Harrison Ford was just like yelling at people and they just decided to bring in the camera and film it. But he's really good as Thunderbolt Ross. I think that the action for the most part is pretty solid. Some of it is a little slow at times, like a little wonky, right? Like the hand-to-hand combat can be a little but for the most part it's good. And I think all the flying stuff is generally pretty great. You see in the trailer there's like a scene where Captain America is fighting Hulk and you're like, how exactly is that going to go down? Like, what exactly is Sam going to do against Red Hulk? And when you watch it, it's like, sure. Right? Like, is it kind of true that do I still feel like he would die after one punch? Yes, I do think so, but I think they did enough justifying the fact that Sam could stand with Hulk, and I won't get into exactly how that all ends. But I think where the movie falters though is there's just something kind of off about it all. Like, it feels like what the report said, right? It feels like a movie that was rewritten a bunch. It feels like a movie that was reshot and stitched together with a bunch of cooks in the kitchen, and is just ultimately this corporate product. It just doesn't feel like a piece of art with a singular vision by the director Julius Ona. And at the end of the day, you can, Kevin Feige can come in and him and his producers can try to reshoot, have the movie reshot and remajigger it. But I think once you get away from having sort of that singular vision of a director, your movie is just going to end up feeling a little sterile. And so that's why a lot of the things in it, which I think are interesting ideas, just ultimately don't end up having as much impact, right? It's a political thriller, right? In the execution of the thrills, I didn't find it particularly thrilling. There's some interesting ideas with morality and and whatnot, and like how the villain of the movie, which I actually I haven't brought up yet, the leader, like he has interesting motivations, but in execution they're not made as interesting as I think they could have been. And yeah, the villain himself the performance is like sometimes okay, sometimes actually kind of bad. It's like, I've seen pictures of the leader and I will say his head is it leaves a little to be desired. I appreciate that they went practical with it, but I think it's supposed to be like way bigger, and it just ends up he's just like a guy with like warts on his head. And yeah, it's just it feels like what it is. It feels like a movie that was kind of like picked apart, remajiggered, and put back together again. Like money and reshoots, it cannot fix a lack of an artistic vision, which I think it just ultimately leaves this movie feeling a little sterile. I guess I'll get a little political. Like I don't know, like it's a part of the conversation. I always struggle if I want to necessarily get into some of these topics, but it is a part of the conversation, so I feel like I should address it. Honestly, I think the left and the right are being really weird about this movie. Like, first of all, like people on like the far left that are like really involved and passionate about the Israel and Palestine situation, and I'm not going to sit here and say that they're wrong or anything. I'm not going to pretend to know about it, but I do think that the way that they treat like the inclusion, or the way that they've treated the inclusion of the Jewish superhero is really weird. Like, unless in the comic books the Jewish lady where she was literally like killing Palestinian babies or something like that. It's like the fact that they just included a Jewish superhero in this, it's like that's just like an immediate negative to them, to people on like the far left, and I'm just like, that's really weird. Like, in the movie at least, she's just a Jewish person. Like they don't get into the Israel and Palestine situation, and I don't think that they need to. Like, I've seen some people online being like, this movie is spineless, and it's like, Marvel Studios does not need to render an opinion on Israel and Palestine. And I think it's fine for them to include a Jewish character without it needing to have anything to do with that situation. I think that a lot of people on like the super far left have been really weird about this whole situation, and quite frankly unfair to this actress and to the character in general. Like, she's perfectly fine in the movie. Like, I actually like the character. And then, people on the right that took Anthony Mackie's explanation of Captain America, right, when he said that Captain America doesn't represent America, that he represents a certain set of values that us as Americans should aspire to be like, that just is what Captain America is. And some of that stuff gets sort of brought up in the movie. I won't spoil how, but it's like that sentiment is brought up in the movie, and it's, again, I'll just repeat this. It is what Captain America has always been. Like, Captain America has always been just a good guy that's always willing to do the right thing, even when times are tough, even when it's hardest to do it, even when he has to go against America, the country, America, the government. Which, to be clear, Captain America has done that in literally every single Captain America movie at some point in the movie. So that's like what Anthony Mackie brought up in that interview. Like, it is addressed here in this movie. Obviously, by the way, to be clear, like, when I say they addressed it, I mean that was just a part of the movie even before he made those comments. It's not like they or I don't know, who the hell knows, maybe they did do reshoots, another round of reshoots to address them, but no, like it was just a part of the movie. And I think anybody that got mad about Anthony Mackie's comments, which to be clear are mostly like right wing conservative people. Um, like, you guys just don't understand Captain America, or you're just like not even a Marvel fan and you haven't watched the Captain America movies and you're just like jumping in on it because you're a politics obsessed freak, and so you're gonna like try to inject your culture war bullshit wherever you, wherever you want it, or like wherever you can, I should say. So, anyways, we don't need to talk about that stupid stuff anymore. The movie's fine. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's great, but it's nowhere near the disaster that I think a lot of us has been fearing it would be, and I think that it is a good next step after, Deadpool and Wolverine. We talked about whether or not Deadpool and Wolverine was going to quote unquote save the MCU. I never thought that one movie would be able to save the MCU. I think Deadpool and Wolverine gave the MCU like a bit of a jump start. A little bit of a and that it's up to Captain America Brave New World and Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four to pick up the baton. And just based off of trailers, Captain America 4, I think, looked like it was going to be the worst of those three movies. And if this does end up being the worst of Captain America and Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, I think that's going to be a pretty good 2025 for the MCU. And I think it spells, or I should say, hopefully, when we get to Thunderbolts, hopefully, like, just based off of the trailers, it looks like it's going to be, like, it's going to feel like a real movie with a clear artistic vision. Fantastic Four looks like a real movie that has a clear artistic vision. And hopefully we end up getting that, because while this was fine, MCU movies need to be better than this. So yeah, but we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, though, like, I don't think that this ruined Sam Wilson as Captain America for me. Like, I definitely still want to see this character moving forward. Like, it wasn't like the Marvels where I was like, yeah, I think you can just give up on Captain Marvel. I think you can just give up on trying to make her work. I don't need to see her again. I still want to see Sam Wilson as Captain America again. Like, I'm going to be excited when he pops up in, the next few Avengers movies. And, hopefully after the next few Avengers movies, hopefully he can have a really big presence and then be able to come back with a truly great Captain America 5, I guess it would be. Which, to be fair, isn't that, like, that would be the pattern that the original Captain America's movies followed, where, like, Captain America the First Avenger wasn't, like, the best movie. But then he made an impression in the Avengers, and I think it sort of had a jump-off point into the Winter Soldier. So hopefully Sam Wilson can have that sort of same pattern again. But yeah, I do want to bring up another thing. They say this in the trailers, so it's not necessarily a spoiler, but there's an aspect of this movie where Sam Wilson is like, he talks about like remaking the Avengers, and it really made it just feel like that aspect about it also just made it feel like Black Widow, where I'm like, why are we getting this movie now? Like 6 years after Avengers Endgame. Like, it actually does highlight what, in my opinion, is Marvel's biggest fumble, which is the fact that they never bothered to make an Avengers movie throughout, or like post Endgame. And when I say an Avengers movie, I'm not talking about Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, which is just like, how can we keep on upping the stakes after Infinity War and Endgame? Oh, I know, multiverse bullshit. Like, they should have had a smaller scale Avengers movie where you decide who you want to be your Avengers, right? Like Captain America, maybe Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Bruce Banner Hulk. Like, bring in your whatever you think your core team is going to be, give them a smaller scale Avengers movies, and really establish them. It is really weird that we're getting the Sam Wilson Captain America movie. However, like, double-digit number projects after Avengers Endgame, after we saw Steve pass the shield off to Sam. Like that, that just does feel really weird. And the fact that after this movie, we're just gonna like jump right into like Doomsday and Secret Wars, it definitely doesn't feel natural. So either way, those are my thoughts on the movie. Have you seen it? Let me know what you thought of it. If you did, if you haven't seen it, let me know if you're planning on seeing it, or if for whatever reason you're just not really interested in it. Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.